What or do, it's Nunix here, and today we're going to be making a video that I've been wanting to make for a while, and that is tips and tricks on how to use Uni Poscas. So as you can see, I have almost every variety, every color there is to offer. If I don't have it, it's just because I'm not aware that it exists, and I absolutely love Uni Poscas. Before I discovered Uni Poscas, I never made paintings. I would only draw. I hated the way paintbrushes were. I felt like I could never get the detail that I wanted, and just the control of an actual paintbrush was always weird to me. So once I found paint markers, it allowed me to finally make canvases and actually paint and explore my boundaries as an artist. So Uni Poscas are an amazing tool for everybody to master, and they are just all around very versatile. So the first thing I'm gonna cover is where to buy Uni Poscas. So the main place you want to buy your Uni Poscas is on Amazon, because that's where you're going to get it the absolute cheapest. You're going to want to buy value packs that come with a couple different packs of Uni Poscas in different sizes and shades. The reason you want to buy them off Amazon is because they're going to be around $1.50 to $2 a marker. It is a little bit more on the expensive side. A more cost-effective option would be artist loft markers, but they are not that great for professional use. They're more for giving to kids or for beginners that are just learning and want to just mess around with it to see how they work. The upgrade from Uni Poscas would be Molotow markers, which are acrylic paint. They are phenomenal, but they are around $4 to $7 a marker, so they are very expensive compared to Uni Poscas, more than double the price in most occasions. The other place that's really good to buy Uni Poscas is Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby offers packs that aren't usually on Amazon. So the most recent pack of Uni Poscas I bought was from Hobby Lobby, and it was all the dark tones. These have really improved my art recently, because they gave me the dark tones that I was lacking in my palette, that allows me to add more shadows and emphasize lighter colors. But we'll see that in a second here as I go into tips and tricks on how to use the Uni Poscas. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is prime the canvas. So you're going to want to do this with any painting regardless. Here's a couple mediums that are good. So we got spray paint, of course. Spray paint is a great primer for Uni Posca especially. I'm going to show you different canvases primed with different mediums in a second to show you the difference. This canvas that I have in front of me is primed with Uni Poscas, just the regular Uni Poscas, the big ones, and some acrylic paint. We got Liquitex here. That's the main brand that I use. Poscas, you're gonna get some transparency in the canvas or the paint itself. So if you look really close here, that white is really seeping through. So it's making these pinks a lot brighter, along with the orange, and you could actually see the brush strokes way more. If you look really close in there, you could actually see the different brush strokes. So that is something to keep in mind. So here is a canvas that is primed with tulip paints, tulip fabric paints, and as you can see, it's a full opacity. You can't see through it at all. You could see slight coming through, but this metallic primer really cuts down a base coat that allows the paint to really adhere to the canvas and just gives it a very clean look. So far out of all the primers I've used, this has been my favorite. It is the most expensive just because it requires the most paint to actually prime the canvas. But another really cool thing about the tulip paints that I covered in my other video is that you could use it to texture the canvas. So this art piece is actually meant to be touched, and as you run your hand across it, you'll feel all different spirals and textures and stuff like that. Now here we have a canvas that's been primed with spray paint. The biggest difference here is that you can see it gives the Uni Poscas a very matte look. So if you're looking to get a very matte finish and a very street art feel, definitely go with the spray paint. It is an amazing primer for the Uni Poscas. It allows them to really stick. But the one thing you want to make sure you do before you start painting is make sure that base coat is 100% dry. Even if it feels dry, once you put down that wet Uni Posca onto it, it's gonna pick up some of the paint off of it. So always make sure to treat it with either a blow dryer or a heat gun to make sure it is 100% dry after you touch it and nothing comes back up on your hand. Doing that extra step will definitely save you some headaches while you're... So on to the tips and tricks. Right here we have a canvas that's been primed with Uni Poscas, and I want to show you what effect pastels have on Uni Poscas. So here I'm taking a purple pastel, and as you can see, the Uni Posca, it does not have like an even coating when you use it to prime. That's another reason that it's difficult to use as a primer. But if we take this and rub it, it will actually give it a more even coloration, and will also make it a lot more pigmented, which is a huge bonus. Pigmentation is a very important part of your prime coat. So yeah, it just gives it also more of an aged look because of the dust that the pastel gives off, but that alone just makes it look 100 times better. So if we see here that purple, it just has more character to it. It's more pigmented, it's more smooth, there's less variation in it, but at the same time it added its own kind of variation where you see it's kind of like granulated now. So it almost gives it like that spray paint feel to it. But yeah, pastels and Uni Poscas go together very well. Alright, so the next step you want to do with Uni Poscas, right, is to get markers that are within the same color range. You want to start with either your middle color or your second to darkest color. So this medium shade that we got right here, or this dark tone that we got right here. The reason that you want to do that is that these two colors are going to be the easiest to add shadowing and lighting with when you start painting. So the way I draw doing line art, I'm going to start with this blue. So the way I do my line art, I'm gonna start with this color right here. Alright, so we got our most neutral color down. So this is gonna be the foundation of what we're drawing today. Another tip when using Uni Poscas is that you always wanna use something like receipt paper or something like this, a mailer. That has a plasticky finish to it, or a laminate to it. The reason that you want to use one of these materials rather than a piece of paper or say paper towels or something like that is because when you prime it, your marker on it, so like when you're ready to prime it, if you use paper, the fibers of the paper are actually going to get caught in the marker nib, and that's going to be really obnoxious when you're painting because it's going to fall off as you're drawing, and it's going to have paint on it, and it's most likely going to mess up some of your minor details. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Always use something that is not absorbent, that will actually repel the liquid. And after you prime it like this and press it down, you just want to do a little scribble real quick to get off any excess paint, so that way you don't glob or leave pooling on here. Also, when you're drawing, you want to be very light. So you don't want to put that much pressure at all. If you put too much pressure, it will pool. So I'm going to show you real quick what will happen. I'm going to purposefully ruin this canvas. It's alright, but that's what will happen if you press too hard. Now you got a glob right there, but I'm going to show you how to fix this. So like Bob Ross said, happy little mistakes. Just take your finger and just make a pattern out of it. Wipe it a little bit, pat it. Patting it's a big one because it will help the paint actually absorb into the canvas and get rid of that excess pooling and avoid any little pockets of paint from being left behind that can mess up your final product. And then you also have a little bit of extra paint on your finger to just go around. And this actually leads into my next tip, is that adding shading. So if you want to add shading, do a little dot here, and then you just want to tap it. If you tap it like this, you'll pick up some of that paint and you'll leave a lighter coat. This is really good for also fixing mistakes, like I said before. But yeah, this is another way of just adding texture and just another thing that you can use your Uni Posca for. These are very versatile tools if you know how to use them, but this in particular is really good for shadows, trees, anything that you just want to add a little extra accent to. Okay, so the next tip we're going to talk about is to remember to keep all your old markers. And the reason this is because every Uni Posca actually has a reversible nib. So say one side of the nib dries out or gets damaged in some way from using it on a paper towel or something like that, you could actually just flip it and you have a brand new nib there. And you may be asking why it's important to keep the old markers, because you'll actually have an easier tool to add highlights and shadows. So the opacity on the old markers will be much, much weaker than a brand new marker. So if I took a brand new marker and went in here and added dots, it would actually completely cover the blue. And that's not what we want. We want to add highlights, just a hint of the color. So we go in here, dot, 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 dot. And we just rub our finger in a circle like this before it dries. And that's how you add the most subtle detail possible. The old markers still have use to them. So make sure you hold on to them so you can add those minor details. Alright, now that I covered those really important tips to know when using Uni Poscas, I'm going to let you guys just watch me draw for a bit, just so you can get an idea of how to use them. You may find a more creative way to use them, and that's fine. I'm just showing you how I use them so you could potentially be inspired. So that is a little excerpt of how I use the Uni Poscas. So if you could see here, the outline that I made for the pupils was using a brand new dark blue marker. So you could see how much deeper that opacity is compared to the tongue. So the tongue, I used a dark blue marker, but this one is very old and it barely has any ink left. So I was really able to give it that shadowy look. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes from new markers to old markers. Another thing is, I usually use 3 colors. So we have the neutral color in the middle, we have the highlight on top, and the shadow underneath. This makes it look very clean. It just gives it a really nice look, and as you can see over here, up here. So what I like to do is, since we have the highlights on top, we want the highlights over here too. So now we got dark blue, light blue, dark blue. So it just gives it a very uniform feel. That wraps it up for the tips and tricks that I wanted to tell you guys today about using Uni Posca markers. If you have any more questions at all about how to use them or where to get them, please ask me in the YouTube comment section below or DM me on Instagram, nunix_x. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. My main goal as an artist is to inspire and help other people reach the end product that they want in their art. So any questions at all, feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer them. And I hope everybody has a fun time making art and at least learned 1 or 2 things today to upgrade their art to the next level. It's been a great time having you guys here, and I hope you have a great day.